This is Contemporary Conservative Audio with another episode of Conversations with your hosts, Reed and Frank.
Happy New Year!
How are you doing? Happy New Year to you. A little late, but we're finally getting to it.
Better late than never.
That's right. How was your holiday, Christmas and New Year?
Uneventful, but at least we weren't on lockdown, so, I've had some fun over the last few days. I had a birthday. I got to get out
That's
and
good.
do some things.
That's good. My holidays were pretty good as well. My dad came up for Christmas, and I don't think I did anything on New Year's. Wasn't really that worried about it, but it was good either way, I'm pretty sure.
Well, was the fat man good to you?
Yeah, I got some decent Christmas presents.
Good. I got mine late, much closer to my birthday, but, just because of the way it falls. But I got some nice
Right.
things.
That's good. Good. But anyway, as we all know by now, we have a new president in the White House. Joe Biden was inaugurated on the 20th of January.
Joseph
Yeah,
R.
that's
Biden.
Yeah, I didn't realize the R was for Robinette or something like that.
I
So
thought it
weird.
was for a word we can't say anymore.
A word for slow.
Yeah, slow. Slow Joe.
Slow Joe Biden. But I think we're definitely in for a bumpy ride. As him being the president.
Well, what is it? It's only 4 or 5 days or something like that. Certainly less than 10, and it's pretty bumpy already, in my opinion.
Yeah. Pushes for $15 an hour minimum wage. All sorts of race stuff.
Stopping the XL pipeline, stopping the border
Yeah.
construction.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Rejoining the WHO. Rejoining the Paris Climate Accord. Most of the stuff he did just because... Well, most of the stuff he undid just because Trump did it.
I feel like I've already seen gas prices go up.
Well, I wouldn't really know.
Yeah, well, I know it's up over $3 a gallon now, and it seemed like forever. For the longest time I can remember,
Really?
it was under 2. I mean,
Wow.
well under 3, I mean to say. Well under 3. And now it's back up over 3.
Jeez, that has gone up. Crazy.
Well, I also buy
I
premium
mean, I remember
for
like
my
2 months ago, it was just under $2.
Yep.
Maybe not even 2 months ago.
I just think it's sort of foreshadowing of what's to come, though. I mean, if you just follow the XL pipeline through, I mean, it's not just the job losses, but the energy losses, too. I mean, we stood to benefit
Yeah.
from that deal, and now no such benefit. As I understand it, the Canadians were quite ticked off at old Sleepy
Yeah,
Joe.
a lot of them are not happy about it. Even that old Trudeau.
That girly
Who's-
man.
Yeah, the girly man. I've heard some people call him a handsome Bernie Sanders.
Ha! Yeah.
I don't get why, but that's what I've heard him called.
I think Bernie Sanders is about as handsome as a grizzly bear.
Oh gosh. I mean, like, well, it's not even the Canadians are mad. It includes the some of the native reservations, because it affects I'm pretty sure some of their reservations have energy production as part of their economy.
Yeah, I read a headline that said something to that regard. That's claimed that this was going to make them independent and sovereign, and now they've lost that independence and sovereignty or whatever. Seems
Right.
sort of antithetical to everything I'd always heard growing up, but maybe they had embraced the times, and now old Joe's screwing them.
Yeah. I mean, it there's not really a whole lot of good reason for leaving the, like the XL pipeline deal and rejoining the WHO and the Paris Climate Accords. Part other than to fit a narrative and to spite anything that Trump did.
Well, of course, I think
'Cause
that's
as you
a great
pointed out-
point. Go ahead.
Because as you pointed out, yeah, with the XL pipeline, who knows how many jobs are going to be lost? Not only here in our country, but as we pointed out in Canada, they're pretty bummed about that.
Well, the company's
And-
projection was 11,000. Somewhere in the neighborhood of
that's-
11,000, but some of those would be temporary, according to the company.
Right.
But that was the figure they quoted. As I understand from Fox News and other outlets, that number is in dispute. Some liberals claim it was as low as 1,000 jobs, and all of them were temporary. So it's interesting, that one. But I think you have a good point too, because if you look at the border wall, several, I can't get a number on that, but several jobs will be lost from that. And the silly thing is that Congress, has already been passed by law, by Congress. They've already budgeted for the final construction for the rest of the border wall, and it's just being halted. Something that was bipartisan legislation that's been enacted by Congress is just being halted now, even though it's fully funded.
And you got the news of this caravan that's on its way, coming at the same time.
Yes, I've heard the famous quote where they have that, can I say black guy?
I guess so. I don't know anymore, man. That's part of the problem
Okay, well.
these days.
They got that black guy with his mask on, and he's being interviewed by one of the major networks, and he's saying there is new administration in U.S., and it is being Biden, and he has given us
I did see
100
that, yeah.
days to get to United States, and he is going to take care of us as far as the immigration
Yeah.
and the papers.
Yeah, and I don't know if you saw, it was on Tucker Carlson's show where he's talking about the email that was sent to either Border Patrol or ICE, one of the two agencies.
Yes.
Basically to tell them stop enforcing the law.
Yes, no deportations, no pickups, no crackdown on the law. No, no enforcement of the law at all. Yes, I saw that. Tucker's been one of the only ones, in my opinion, that's really been saying some of the more prejudicial things here recently. He's been still pushing the envelope a little bit.
Yeah.
I feel so
because-
disappointed by so many other figures.
There's a bunch of squishes.
Mm-hmm.
But, what was I going to say? It was related to the border. Oh, yeah, because, I forget what it's called. Maybe it's, there's a name for it, but it's when, like if somebody's trying to come to the U.S. to claim asylum,
Uh-huh.
but they have to stop and claim it in whatever country they come to first.
Yeah.
Apparently, from what I've heard on Tucker's show, that Mexico has actually been a pretty good partner in that, and some of the other countries in that area.
Right.
And I wouldn't be surprised if, the Biden administration calls up, the different heads of those countries and say, no, we're not doing that anymore.
Yeah,
Let
sure.
them come on in.
Of course they will. If you
Yeah.
remember, I'll point out something. If you remember back to when Trump just started his job as president, there was a fella you and I know by the name of John Kerry who was going
Mhm.
around, running around the world, telling everybody, all of our foreign adversaries, just wait him out, just wait him out, just wait out Trump. He's just a fluke. Just wait him out.
Yep, I remember hearing about this.
There was big discussion about whether or not it was, violation of the Hatch Act and all this, whether, he
Mhm.
was no longer a government employee and he shouldn't be representing the current government. He wasn't part of it.
Right.
So, I mean, that's how they treated Trump. That's how it'll be. It'll just be snap back to the old Obama ways, the Clinton ways.
Yep. It's basically going to be Obama 2.0 on steroids.
Steroids. Yep.
Yep. Biden's just an empty suit filled with his leftist.
He's
Buddy
not a puppet,
Kamala.
Reed. He's a real
Oh.
boy. He's a real
He's a-
boy.
We'll see about that.
Yeah, right. That guy's a puppet if I've ever seen one. He's like Weekend at Bernie's, dude. They've been doing a Weekend at Bernie's routine with this guy for more than a year.
Yeah. I mean, he's a groundhog. Speaking of which, it's coming up soon, Groundhog Day. He just comes out every now and then to check to see if he sees a shadow and goes along with whatever he sees.
Oh, COVID's still
Well, that's-
here. Go back down into the bunker. Into the basement. That's what it was, the basement.
Yeah. He's not even a serious person. He did that. He does the 100-day vaccine thing and his mask, whatever.
Yeah,
Mandate.
mandate with the federal government and
Yeah.
on federal lands. Mm-hmm.
Right. Of course, we saw where he totally violated his own rule when he
Oh,
was at
yeah. And his
Lincoln Memorial.
Yeah, and his new press secretary, she says
Yep.
that's because they're
He was celebrating.
he was
They were
celebrating,
celebrating.
and there are bigger things to do now. There's
Yeah.
bigger things to worry about now than the masks. Okay, didn't you guys get the memo? The masks don't matter now. That was
And
only
then
so that we could make Trump look like an idiot.
Right. Then I saw, maybe it was earlier this morning or last night, that Fauci said that the 100 million vaccines in 100 days are doses, not people. And I'm pretty sure up until recently, like before Biden took office, we were doing 100, I mean, not 100, but 1 million people a day. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I saw those people, not vaccinations. So if you're only doing the 1 million vaccinations, which means, I believe, depending on which one you get, people have to get 2 of them.
Right.
So you can't count a whole person being vaccinated if they're have to get 2 doses. So he's already making this big plan that everybody's supposed to believe is some big initiative, when in reality, it's at best equal to, and at worst, worse than what was already being done.
Well, I know where my money is. I say worse than. But I almost
Yeah.
feel like that benefits me, I feel like Trump really would have probably shot everybody in the damn arm. And I'll tell you, just between you and me as friends, I don't want the shot. I'm not going to take the shot. And I'm hoping a little ineptness on Biden's part will save me time to not have to take it, or for whatever, people to grow third arms, third eyes, whatever. Just on the topic, I saw a headline in preparation to us going on air that reactions, negative and adverse reactions to the vaccine are up, of course, as they as they inject more people, you get more negative reactions if they're going to come. And the official figure is 11.1% per million have an adverse reaction. And there are people who have already died from taking this vaccine. So I think it's interesting that the figure was 11.1% per million, when I'm pretty sure the virus isn't even that deadly or that effective amongst people. I think it's been like under 2% of the population have died, and I think it still is under 10% have been affected. But the vaccine is affecting 11.1%?
Right.
That figure seems higher to me than any of the figures associated with the virus.
Well, I think unless they're going to start doing a federal program where they're out there rounding people up, I think we'll have a couple of governors who are not going to stand for forced injections.
Oh, I have to tell you something, my friend. I wish we weren't on air, and maybe I had said this to you earlier, but there is a film. Our listeners might be interested in this, though, so I still want to share it with you. There was a film from 1979 out of Germany. Okay, and I can't tell you the title of the film. I'd have to review it. This is just from memory. I'm just recalling this because of our conversation. I don't have a... That's why I wish we weren't on an air, or I had prepared a little, so I had some real facts to share with our listeners here. But I'm just telling you from memory, there was a film. 1979 it was filmed, or produced at least. And it came out of Germany. And the subject matter of the film was that there was a fake virus going around. And they tried to impose it on the people, and the people went along with it. And Reed, I'm telling you, it's like this. I don't know how else to describe it to you, but it is this. It is this. They sell the masks. They have hazmat suits. They talk about... There's a particularly chilling scene where a young, pretty girl, she's one of the leads in the film, as I understand. A young, pretty girl, she's about to be forcibly vaccinated, and a doctor... Well, I mean, not forcibly, but how do you say this, Reed? I mean, you're the psych major. She's kind of just going with the current. And that's why she's getting vaccinated, is because everybody else is getting vaccinated. But she is questioning, she's smart enough to question the doctor right before she gets the shot. She says, "But I'm very healthy. Why do I need this?" And he tells her, "How can you prove you are healthy, my dear? Ha 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 ha. Of course you are not." And stabs her with the needle. So I just find it so interesting. I mean, this is a movie, I did the math, it's 42 years old. And here we are, basically living the film. And as the film goes on, it becomes more farcical. Like, I think the viewer of that film back in 1979 was supposed to laugh. I think it was supposed to be a comedy to them. But here in 2021... this video has been making waves on the internet because it's like we've just lived through this farcical 42-year-old movie. Or that we're living through it now. I just bring it up because, I mean, that's 42 years. And just since this COVID came, we've had the discussion of these forced injections, and will it happen, or can employers require it? Will it happen? Will it happen? How many times are we going to sit and talk about it? Eventually somebody's going to do it. It'll happen. I'm telling you, people have been talking about it for more than a year now. Well, maybe in March it'll be a year, but whatever. I just feel like it's bound to happen. I'm afraid of it.
Well, you're not the only one that is not going to take it, and I would venture to guess people are going to have to die trying to give it to you, and other people like you.
Yeah. They will have to take me screaming. Whatever.
But how about we move on to some news across the web, which you can find on our website at contemporaryconservative.net. There's a link on the homepage, or if you're, depending on how you look at it, if you're lazy and you want to type in the rest of the URL, you can just type in contemporaryconservative.net/news-across-the-web. And with that, we'll take a look at some of them here. And how about, we got quite a few to pick from. Let's peruse through them here real quick.
Well, I see one here that
Sure.
gets my blood boiling. I
Go
see a
for it.
report that Joe Biden, through an executive order, has basically agreed to pay San Francisco to help them with this these homeless hotels that they've erected. And the figure quoted was something like $15 to $18 million per month. He now, with federal money, with our tax dollars, is now helping San Francisco keep up these homeless hotels. It's just sickening. And you know these are breeding grounds for, probably COVID flares, for other diseases, for
Crime.
crime of all sorts.
Even more homelessness.
Vagrancy.
Right? That's sort of, I assume those homeless hotels are government run by the local city.
Or state, I'm not sure, but the money I know, according to the article, was to flow to San Francisco. So I guess we can assume that it's city funded, but the article also said that they've been running in arrears to the tune of 15 to 18 million a month in hopes that the federal government will pick up this bill. And as I understand it, some of this money is supposed to be applied to this retroactively, to the outstanding balance that San Francisco has racked up. So, depending on how you look at it, it almost seems like a scam, like a bunch of people are about to get bailed out.
Yeah. Where have we seen that before?
Oh, I think the first one was AIG.
Well, I think it's interesting because, I was listening to an episode of Joe Rogan's podcast recently,
Yes.
and he had on Andy Andy Curie? I think that's his last name. He is basically, some people call him the godfather of podcasting, which I didn't know that until I was listening to the episode. But he lives in Texas, and he was talking about how there's started to be a big homeless problem in, I think, the Austin area. But one person basically bought a bunch of land and built a whole ton of little tiny houses for homeless people to come rent, however they would do that.
Yes.
And the whole idea is focused on the idea of, or sense of, them having a community. Because even in these, like in Los Angeles, you got Skid Row, where you have these big plots of people in their tents all over the place. People who don't care about the homeless issue in the way that somebody like us might care about it would think that that is a community of homeless people, or intransigents, whatever. But it's not a very organized community. It's not a community that's organized around, good values and, stuff like that.
Yes.
Where at this place in Austin, it's ran by, I believe, a minister of some church. And he lives in the community in one of the little tiny houses with the people.
That's great.
And it's ideas like that, if the government's going to be doling out millions of dollars, they should be receiving it. Not some poorly run government program that doesn't help at all.
Oh, but it's so silly. I mean, the government basically works like the mob, and so do all of the government institutions, like the teachers' union. I mean, look at the scam they've pulled. They want their benefits and their money to continue, but they can't go to school and teach. But they also can't teach from home. It's the biggest catch-22 situation in the world. And you know what?
Yep.
Their benefits and their money and their payments will never stop. And they don't want to teach because they're in this wonderful catch-22. It's like, I have a very good friend whom you know, but whose name I won't say, who said, she's somebody who's always making excuses all the time for anything under the sun. And she told me the other night, I hadn't called her back or something, and I apologized, and she said, "Don't worry, it's COVID. You have the biggest excuse in the world. You have an excuse for anything." And
what?
Yeah, and some people are using it that way. I tell you what, and the teachers union, I mean, they have a perfect catch-22. They don't want to get sick, but they still want to teach if you listen to them. And teaching over the internet just isn't the same as in person, but they can't do in person. They won't do in person because of the risk to their health.
Right. Then I heard that there are some teachers unions that are going on strike, and I think some states need to start passing bills that either outright fire or suspend teachers that go on strike.
Yes.
Because their employers are technically the taxpayers.
Yes.
You're striking against the taxpayers when they believe they're striking against the government. It doesn't work that way.
Well, people used to understand that government employees were teachers, firefighters, were nurses. You know what I mean? That's our part of our government. I mean, actually, it's just a bunch of guys at a city council somewhere who vote on things. But the real power behind the government is us, is people are the... But no, it's amazing how that's flipped around.
Yep. All right. Let's see. Oh, I sort of lost my page here. I was going to pick another headline. Hold on here. Hold on. Here we go. This kind of relates to something we were just talking about. Let's see. Chicago Teachers Union votes to recuse or refuse, one of the two, I can't tell, in-person teachings. Will not show for work. Article from, the Daily Wire. Let's take a look at it. That kind of connects to what we were just talking about.
Yeah.
The darn union.
Sounds just like it. Sounds like some lazy turds, if you ask me. Some bad examples. I've always wondered about that. If the teachers go on strike, think about that. The teachers go on strike so much. It's in the newspapers year after year. It's on the televisions. How come the kids don't go on strike? Imagine if the kids acted that way in the classroom. We're going on strike for A papers.
I guess I'm waiting for the article to load on the page, so we can actually talk about it a little bit more. This is not going very well. Hey, but that's how it goes sometimes.
That's just how the cookie crumbles. Hey,
that's
F
right.
you owe me a Coke.
That's what I said. Well, I guess we don't have to read the article. Yeah, but I mean, that basically proves what we were talking about. I guess that's all that is.
It sure as shit
headline.
does, dude. Can we call this one the sloppy drunk episode? Because I feel like it's gotten kind of sloppy.
Sure.
I mean, I haven't gotten
It is a
sloppy.
little bit late. We're not, as far as I'm concerned, we're not freaking professional NPR, Fox News, whatever. I don't mind saying we're some amateurs, but we're out here doing the work.
Well, Reed, you can say whatever unkind words you want about yourself, but I am strictly
they're not
professional
unkind.
over here.
Oh, says the guy who just asked if we can call it the sloppy drunk episode.
And then I think I also said F you instead of jinx.
Oh.
I said F you, you owe me a Coke.
Hey! Oh, my Coke.
Right? I was just trying to make a joke. I don't think I'm that professional.
Well, of course. I'm having major problems over here.
Yeah, all those
Gosh
technical difficulties we've got.
I'm telling you.
It's not like we're sitting in a padded room with nice microphones and $1 million worth of equipment or anything. Like that Ben Shapiro.
Oh.
Oh, come on. I
this
thought
isn't
you were
really a
going to give me
headline.
shit about...
Oh, I was listening to other things talking in my ear,
Oh, okay.
but I was gonna say this isn't a headline, but the other day I believe it was Peter Ducey from Fox News once again,
Yeah.
the only reporter in the White House briefing room that knows how to ask some questions.
Yeah.
But he was asking about the Hyde Amendment and the Mexico City policy.
Yeah.
Regarding taxpayer-funded abortions.
Right.
Did you hear her response?
No, I didn't.
Jen Psaki's? She basically said Joe Biden's a devout Catholic.
Wow, that's good though,
That's
isn't
pretty
it?
much all she said. Yep. Problem solved.
Wow.
I guess that means he's
pro-life.
I don't know. I guess either that or somebody better be calling
Well,
up,
but see, they'll get him out of there so damn fast.
Oh, here's an interesting one. 3 days after Biden inauguration, Seattle starts prosecuting rioters more harshly. Imagine that.
He starts punishing who more harshly?
Rioters?
Rioters. Okay. Yeah, no kidding, because
Or,
that's the only news I heard. You know, they had all those troops up there at the Capitol, which is its own
but
story.
they didn't want all those troops in Seattle and Portland.
Right, they didn't. Okay, but then there weren't any of these patriot protesters. There were actually some BLM protesters. Something
Yeah.
like 29 people got arrested that day.
Yeah.
And they weren't conservative protesters. So that's interesting. Then they disbanded all the troops or whatever. They weren't treating them very well. There were famous pictures of them like sleeping in the halls of the Capitol and sleeping in parking garages near the Capitol. Then I saw a story where like 3 states pulled their National Guard troops home because they weren't doing anything up in D.C. They weren't serving any purpose there. And it was getting bad publicity. So I think his inauguration was a real shit show. You know.
What a shit show.
Yeah. And did you already make your comment about how he was seen pictured there without a mask? Oh, no, that's not important anymore. He doesn't have to wear his mask anymore because they're celebrating.
And they send mixed messages too. Well, not really mixed messages, but they always talk about you gotta wear the mask. You gotta wear the mask to show you care about other people. You gotta wear the mask to protect other people.
Rules for
And
thee,
then-
but not for me.
right? And it's all a big show, and you know it's a big show because here's a headline that says, "Why are members of Congress who are vaccinated still wearing masks?"
Yeah. Because it's to keep up the illusion that, there's a big
Yeah.
concern that this is really scary. We need to keep it going, keep it going, keep it going. That's all that it's about. It's so effective. They can print money. The debt doesn't matter. They can invoke all these emergency protocols. They can do direct how, private corporations are supposed to produce materials. It's
Right.
It's crazy, the powers that they have.
I mean, God bless the 400 something thousand dead, but it's all becoming a big power grab.
Never waste an emergency.
Yeah. Never let a crisis go to waste.
That's it. That's the one.
Yep. From what's his face? Old Chicago mayor.
Oh boy,
Can't think
I
of-
could tell you. Rahm Emanuel.
Yeah, Rahm Emanuel.
Ha ha
That's it.
ha! That old prick. One of Obama's buddies.
Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
And his brother Zeke Emanuel is another buddy. Helped write the Obamacare.
Hey, well, you know what? I think that brings us right to something I've been wanting to say all night.
Okay.
I've got a few predictions for you about this
All right. Yeah.
Biden
Let's
administration.
go for it. Let's hear some predictions.
I'm telling you right
Round it
now,
out.
the first one is that we are going to hear more from Michelle and Barack Obama than we ever did while they were president. I feel like there were certain
believe it.
things. Yeah, I feel like there were certain things Obama
already
was
have.
trying to keep under wraps when he had the power. And
Mhm.
now that he doesn't have the power, I think he's going to just love the media attention. I think the media is just going to treat him sort of the way they did when he was president, except now he has none of the power. So, of course, it'll just be sweetheart. They'll just love him. They won't have to be a check
Yep.
on him. He has no power.
Right? He needed to try to maintain as much of a moderate look as he could, but not anymore. He doesn't need to.
Nope. And I think he's going to be out there just taking interviews day after day, over and over. We're going to see him so much. It's almost like he'll be our facsimile president or our president in effect. I think the media will very much be asking him, how does Joe Biden compare? How do you think the Bidens are comparing to the Obamas? Is he being effective? Does he need to do this? Does he need to do that? They'll always be seeking his guidance. And as I understand, he's set up to control a big media share. I think he has several deals with Netflix and other
Yep. No.
other outlets, so he'll be able
He
to.
is part of the media group Friends of Oprah.
Yes, right, of course.
So yeah,
So that's
I-
certainly one. Do you have any predictions?
yes. I think at least for the next couple of years, it's not going to be necessarily big government that's encroaching on our individual liberties. It's going to be big tech and big corporations, because we've already started to see it
Yes.
with the way the social media networks and Amazon, their example of shutting Parler down, which they're slowly coming back to life. Good to see that. And I was listening to a recent episode of the Andrew Klavan Show, one of my favorite people to listen to, and he was talking about how, he thinks it's a big problem that we're going to end up having something like the social credit system that they have over in China.
Yes, I've heard this
Yep.
theory, and I think it's
Yep.
very, very reasonable if you look at the writing
Well,
on
of
the
course
wall.
it is, because, it's already basically in place.
Mm-hmm.
if you get an Uber, you rate your driver rates you. What if you happen to unintentionally stumble on the conversation of politics? Maybe your driver doesn't say anything while you're in the car, but as soon as you get out, 1 star. And it just keeps happening.
Yes, well, I can tell
All
you,
the-
I'm a language major. That triggers a lot with me, and sort of a philosophy guy. And I've been in some cars, and I know how it feels to have those awkward conversations where you don't know where they sit, and they don't know where you sit, and it's hard to even broach the topic. And now this is assuming you're both
Mhm.
smart. Is you're both
Right.
sort of afraid to broach the topic of politics.
Mm-hmm.
If you're just dumb and you just are sitting there going, "Oh, Nancy Pelosi this and Chuck Schumer that," or on the flip side of the coin, you say, "Oh, Republicans this and Republicans that, and Mitch McConnell and Senator Cruz," blah, 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 you kind of give yourself away, easy peasy, and we all know people like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been there. I'm sort of an intellectual type, and I've met some people who, you wouldn't necessarily think of your Uber driver as an intellectual, but they're people, and sometimes they are, and
Of
I've
course.
been there, and it's amazing. It's like you're doing a sort of dance where you put one foot in, and then you take it back out, and you're kind of not sure, so you're shaking in your boots. That's right. That's how it's all gonna be. Is
Yeah,
social
uh-huh.
interaction's gonna be like doing the fucking hokey pokey, and if you make a wrong
Right.
move, that's how you're out of the game. Hey, just like that. So, yeah, I think it's a very scary sort of very much socialized
Mhm.
future that we're heading toward.
Yeah, right. And I guess to try to bring a finer point on a prediction. I mean, I kind of think that we'll see more like siloing of like businesses that are conservative versus businesses that are liberal, and you kind of already see it with some businesses like Black Rifle Coffee, which maybe one day in the future will be a sponsor. Who knows? I like their coffee. I get their coffee every couple months, I believe. They're a conservative company. They veteran owned and operated, I believe. They donate to veterans and first responder causes. They're like the antithesis, is that the right word?
Yes, absolutely.
Of Starbucks.
Yes.
And then there's tons of examples like that. I'm sure we'll see more before we, or if we even come to a point where we're finally sharing products and services again, where it doesn't matter what the political views are.
I hope that day comes. Well,
Yep.
and with another hope, I think with another hope, I'll give my last prediction, okay? The man that I'm about to talk about is now a United States president, so I have to treat it carefully and respectfully, and of course, I'm not wishing that the
Sure.
man should die. I don't wish that any particular man should die. But I think given Joe Biden's health, mental, etc. kind of state, and the fact that we've been saying it for a long time, that's how I feel totally justified, is we've been making political predictions for some time now. We have an established record, and I'm telling you, this man will not survive 2 years. I'm not wishing anything upon our current
Right.
president as it stands. I wouldn't agree with such a thing, but I don't think he'll last 2 years. And I've heard other people say it. I've heard it discussed in other circles. I've certainly said it myself before. It's a countdown until Kamala is president. And so I'm saying less than 2 years, and I want that on a recording. So here it is. Today
You heard it,
is
folks.
1/24/2021. I'm saying less than 2 years. 2 years will be something close to 1/24/2023. I think it'll I'm just guessing it'll probably be 1/22/2023. But I mean, that's not the date. I'm just saying before that
Right.
date. Before that date.
Sure.
I think he's going to expire, and Kamala will be president before 1/22/2023.
I mean, it's certainly within reason because we probably talked about before. The first time back in what September, October, or whatever, maybe November. I don't know when it was at this point. When Nancy Pelosi was floating around the 25th Amendment for the first time,
Yes.
and some of us speculated that it was a sneaky ploy for her to be able to use it
Not for Trump.
against Joe Biden.
Yes.
Right, for Joe Biden. Yep.
Exactly.
So I can definitely see that for sure happening within 2
Yeah,
years.
for sure. I mean, that's you so easily led me into it. If he's going to be the Puritan Catholic who doesn't believe in abortion, that's not going to fly.
Right. But hopefully we'll find out in due time about our predictions.
In due time, and I think it would only behoove us as good conservative, probably Christians, that we do wish the man well. We do hope,
Certainly.
we pray that he guides our country in the right direction and not the wrong one, even though we don't see it that way.
There are few people that I truly believe are evil, and I don't think Biden's one of them. He might be misguided, he might not have the best ideas in mind, and he might not be, fighting for what he says he's fighting for, or anything like that. But, like I said,
Of
I don't
course,
perceive him
I
as
agree,
an
but you have to
evil
worry about
person.
the people that have propped him up.
Right, of course.
It's
of course.
them.
Right. So yes, I certainly agree. I wish the man well and relatively good health for his age. We don't want him to kind of.
I don't want to see him
suffer
come
in
to
any way.
harm. Yes, exactly.
Right,
Yes.
right. But
I just think he
Yeah.
shall expire soon of his own, his own, body's expiration. It's approaching its date. That's all that I find, in my opinion.
right. Yep. But listeners, you can let us know what your predictions are. Just leave a comment wherever you listen to your podcast.
And share us
And
with a
hopefully we'll have
friend. If you have a Twitter
Yes,
account, if you
please.
have a Parler account, a MeWe, one of these new alt social platforms, or one of the old traditional, we hope that you'll share us with a like-minded friend.
Or somebody who's not necessarily like-minded, but is open-minded.
Always the
that's-
open-minded. Yes.
Yeah. Until next time.
God bless.